and a little flower. And the Book of Flowers brings us to Marjorie Harris, the gardener. Marjorie Harris once wrote, "Nuns and monks in medieval times used gardening as part of their sense of worship, and that has persisted among the gardeners I know. Whether they belong to an organized religion or not, they are always intensely spiritual people." That's from Marjorie's book, In the Garden, Thoughts on Changing Seasons. Our conversation was first broadcast on Tapestry in the spring of 2005. Here it is as part of our continuing series, Tapestry at 25. When you're a gardener, it seems to me you come smack up against some of these spiritual ideas. The impermanence of life, rebirth, patience, things growing in their own time, not being forced. Do any of those have resonance for you?
Absolutely, all of them. And I don't think you can walk into the garden at all, even for a moment, without in some way all of these layered emotions coming at you. And spending some time just looking at a plant. I mean, looking into the face of a plant. You can't not be emotionally lifted in some way. I mean, if you look at a lily or in just almost any plant you can think of, any time of the year you will find a bloom out there, something that's in bloom. And if you look directly in its face, I always think you're sort of looking into the face of God. I mean, if God is everywhere, which some God cannot not be in the face of a plant, if you know what I mean, because there is everything there. It's about survival, it's about sexuality, it's about death, because all blooms are very ephemeral, and within a few weeks they're gone and something else has taken its place. So when you meditate in a garden, and a garden is really, really a good place to meditate. I'm not one of those people who can sit in a corner and stare at a wall or something like that and call it meditation. I got to be in a place where it's active, and a garden is always active. I mean, there are always bees around, there are always butterflies, something's always happening, and somehow whatever it does, whatever's going on, it sort of thrums in your heart, and it makes you feel at one.
In what ways is your garden a spiritual place for you? Tell me about moments when you've really felt this keenly.
I think every single garden in the world has its particular time of the day. And it could be late in the afternoon, it could be even high noon might be for, say, a prairie garden, the most extraordinary time of day. For my garden, it's really, really early in the morning, because I'm surrounded by a lot of trees and I'm surrounded by a lot of other houses and whatnot. But in that first rising of the sun over the houses and whatnot, as that kind of light slants in, and I have some trees that have purple leaf. There's one called, it doesn't matter what it's called, but it has heart-shaped purple leaves. And I sit out there my coffee waiting for the sun to come through those leaves, because it is the most magical, extraordinary time of the day. And when you look around at everything else, it's not etched the way it is later in the day. It has a kind of softness. I admit I'm a romantic, and this softness touches me extremely deeply. There is nothing else that matters at that moment.
What has your garden taught you in the spiritual realm?
In the spiritual realm, more than anything, it's about time and patience. I've been very aware of death since I was very, very young. It didn't have to teach me a thing about death. What it had to teach me was about patience with life. And before I started gardening, I was probably the worst tempered person you've ever met in your entire life. And I may not have improved a lot, but I learned how, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little carried away here.
That's okay. It's profound stuff.
It is, to me anyway. The garden is extremely profound. A profound level of patience that you can't have it now. That sense of being able to wait. I no longer have any sense of urgency about my garden. I'm coming up to old age, and I have a sense of I can wait. I can wait to see this little stick I'm putting in the ground now. It's not going to do anything for 15 years. I can wait.
How important is the idea of sanctuary to you in your garden?
In the garden. Oh, totally. It's at the core. I call it cosseting, and being cosseted by the garden. And being a downtown gardener is very difficult on some summer sunny days when everybody around seems to be renovating. And I have learned how to garden with renovations by having big earplugs, and I listen to opera, or I listen to music that I love. Usually, I'm very high on requiems and Stabat Maters. If the sadder, the better for me in the garden. For some reason, the sound of the human, a Dvorak Stabat Mater is one of them. Oh, they're just parts of that are pleasant. And if the world is rackety and I put that music on and go and sit in my garden, the world is perfect.
We just touched on this idea of Eden and the idea of the first garden. Do you think at some level within us, and I don't want to get too airy-fairy about this, so stop me if this is purely fanciful, is some of it primal? Is some of it a need in human beings to get back to the garden?
Yes, and it's called biophilia, and it means the love of nature. And what biophilia describes, E.O. Wilson,
Yes.
It describes it really, really well in some of his books, but it describes this genetic need that we have to be part of nature. We are part of nature. I mean, we're the same genetic makeup as a lot of other things, like rats and various other things like that. But when we remove ourselves from it, there is a longing that is sometimes manifested as depression, sadness, selfishness. There's this kind of longing, and quite often people don't know what it means, and yet you take them on a hike, take them for a walk, and you watch them just go and come back to something that's really, really essential to our being.
You've said of your own garden, it is here I do my worshiping.
Yeah.
Take me through your worship in the garden. What happens when you're in the garden at worship?
Well, I live a kind of chaotic life just because of what I do. Make that step.
Hello?
You were calling me earlier?
Did I? Yeah, I think I tried. I did.